Okay, tonight we've got another special guest. We've got Pete Patitsis. Pete is. I'll let him introduce you in more or introduce himself in more detail in a few minutes. But I want to just give you a little bit of a background from what I know of Pete. He is in his. I guess you're now officially in your late 20s. And he's a young man that I've known for just about 2 years. I've been doing some work with his twin brother Demetri, and they both come out of central Pennsylvania. And Pete has had an interesting background. Again, I'll let him tell more details, but just to hit a few highlights that I'm aware of. He graduated from college a number of years ago, has lived overseas, both in Greece and in Poland, so has traveled very extensively, different work experiences in each country. Recently completed his MBA at Penn State, up in State College, Pennsylvania, at the Smeal School of Business. And, his family is an entrepreneurial family. He and his twin brother, Demetri, have started a number of ventures, including a not-for-profit venture called St. Paul's Fellowship of Labor, where they support a number of different Greek Orthodox communities throughout the world. And I've been fortunate recently to go on a trip where they were finishing building a Greek Orthodox church on a relatively remote island of the Bahamas. More relevantly to this class, Pete kind of stepped off into the void a little bit. He's got a wife who's in law school. He's got 2 kids and a third one on the way. And you might say it's about the worst possible time for anybody to jump in and start a business, but true to his entrepreneurial calling, Pete took a step into that void, and back in November, working with a partner, started a company called Silver Lining Chiropractic and Wellness Spa. And the reason I wanted, after thinking through where you guys have gotten to with your business plan ideas over the last 5.5 weeks, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal progress that you've made. But I wanted somebody who is not that much further ahead of you, either in your studies or in your aspirations to create your own opportunity. And because of the background that Pete has, and because he's got great experience at a relatively young age in both the for-profit sector as well as in the not-for-profit sector, I thought he could really give you some insights about, how do you take that step off into the void, and what are some of the things that he's learned as an entrepreneur, first and foremost, more so than perhaps even as an MBA student, although he can certainly comment on the relevancy of his degree and some of the things that might have helped him or not helped him, for that matter, as a result of his studies. So with that, let me ask Pete to formally introduce himself, and then we'll start asking questions. And as always, any of you that have questions, please go ahead and enter them into the chat session at any point in time, and I will ask those questions on your behalf at an appropriate point in time of Pete, and we'll go up to about an hour. If we run out of questions before that, fine, but I want to respect everybody's time and just help us finish this off. So with that, Pete, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background and how you got to be where you're at.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Dr. Lightfoot, for inviting me to speak tonight. My name is Peter Patitsis. It is a Greek last name, and from central Pennsylvania, but feel very much cosmopolitan. And I think, as you'll see, there's a sort of an ongoing theme of sort of, really, as they say, thinking globally but acting locally. And very happy to be a part of Central PA's economic activity. But at the same time, very happy to bring a certain ambiance and luster of the best of what Europe has to offer too. With that said, I studied biology actually in undergrad and did very well with that. But you can only get so passionate, or at least I could only get so passionate about oxyndic cells of salamanders and whatnot. So I was kind of turned on to the world of business by nature of studying abroad. And before I finished my senior year, tried to pull off as many classes in the business field as possible, got my minor in that before I graduated. Immediately after that, I went to Europe to work for an international shipping company out of Greece, And we had 2 oil tankers when I started there, and we had 6 when I left. So we literally, at the time, went from a company that was about $100 million in market cap to like $500 million. And again, it's a pretty capital-intensive business, but nevertheless, it gave me a lot of, let's call it, corporate perspective in an international environment. From there, I moved to Poland for personal reasons with my wife. Had to support and restructure a family business that was involved in dentistry, and did some marketing there. And then after that, went for my MBA at Penn State University, which was a 2-year program, and I studied supply chain. Talking about the relevancy of an MBA for entrepreneurs, I think the tough part about being an entrepreneur is that you kind of have a calling for everything, but you're a jack of all trades, master of none. But it's always good to have at least something specific to bring to the table. And while I think an entrepreneur always will bring a lot of energy and a good story, it never hurts to be able to really enter the conversation as a specialist, which is ultimately what is needed too. So with that said, and as Dr. Lightfoot had mentioned, the last 7 years or so, my brother and I have been leading a nonprofit organization with volunteers to do construction projects for Greek Orthodox monasteries and convents, and we're in 7 countries now. So, in addition to that, we've had a number of other different sort of side ventures, website development, different consulting stints, but most recently, I've taken a step into the healthcare world, specifically chiropractic and wellness. And we are now in our 5th month, finishing out our 5th month of operations with a wellness center in Belfont, Pennsylvania, north of State College. And it's pretty progressive for the area that we have. We just to bring you up to speed, we now have a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, 3 licensed massage therapists. We offer a weight loss program by partnering with MetaFast. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them, but their Take Shape for Life program is a weight loss program. And we also partner with Standard Processed Foods for nutrition counseling. So it really is a wellness center, genuinely. And we've had a lot of good staff there to manage it and to push it forward. And I'm one of the owners. Dr. Melissa Moyer and I are co-own it. And I'm the business manager trying to make as many partnerships as possible to keep things moving forward at a good rate and trying to recruit that clientele. And once I get them there, Dr. Melissa keeps them there with some great customer service knowledge and care, ultimately. But that's a little bit of a few hundred-word summary about where we are today. So thanks again for
Now, how did you... Yeah, well, we're glad you're with us, and especially, again, you touch on a lot of different things that are relevant to many of these students. We've got students that are working on things related to healthcare. We actually have a couple students with a master's in gerontology program in addition to the MBA. So there is that mix, and I think you can speak to all of those. I think the thing that I'm interested in initially is, why silver lining? Why did you jump in doing this? What led you to this? You got an MBA in supply chain. You had a background in shipping. It sounds like you would be more comfortable maybe in logistics and some other stuff. Tell us a little bit about the mindset and what led you to this particular opportunity now.
Yeah, they're great questions, and I think honestly, it's kind of philosophical in the sense that, as an entrepreneur, I love and get excited about everything that I commit myself to, and as a result, sometimes for better or for worse, I'm sort of a product of my environment. So, the learning curve is always something I have to run up as fast as possible. But whether it's shipping or website design or teaching, at different undergraduate levels, or this healthcare world. I always just feel a calling to do the best that I can do. And the way that I was introduced to this really was through a social community setting. A great book is out there called Bowling Alone, and it addresses the issue, the power of social capital and informal and social networks. And I have to say, most of the jobs I've ever had were all due to friends and networks and communities. And specifically, I play rugby, and the local community here had had an individual who owned a chiropractic group and a spa, and he was looking for a consultant to do some marketing. So I knew that I would be in the area for the next few years as nature as my wife going to law school. So I sort of jumped on that and jumped on a few other things at the same time and saw which one led to a more successful outcome. And as I got more and more involved with his business, I became to realize that I had learned a lot about the healthcare world in general, the spa world, the wellness world, and chiropractic specifically. And just taking initiative, I learned about billing and insurance and patient care and process flow, et cetera, which, sometimes has a little bit to do with supply chain. And so when it came to taking the next step, I decided, I really think it's time to start my own business, maybe in a way that's a little bit more philosophically on with my own values. And the chiropractor that used to work for him was ready to go on her own, so we decided to do our own thing. And so it sort of has emerged, I can't say that it was too premeditated, but over the last year plus now, I've been involved in the wellness world, and over the last 5 months, I've been, an owner of my own small business and wellness center.
So if I to sort of summarize what I think I understand, basically, you were presented with an opportunity to help a company out exercising some of the skills that you developed both in business as well as an MBA, and you worked with that company for better part of a year. Some things happened in that company. Another opportunity presented itself with one of the experts, one of the doctors, and you decided to go for it. Now, tell us a little bit about the financing side, because that's one of the things the students have been working on this last week is trying to, come up with, I guess, a realistic budget for startup. I mean, did you go talk to a bank? Did you talk to the Small Business Development Center? Did you, cash in some savings bonds, talk to your father and say, hey, Dad, can I borrow a couple $100,000? What did you do?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and when it comes down to it, money can do a lot of walking for you, and you definitely need it to start a new business. We tried all those different channels, all those different venues. We realized that the small business development loan took too long to apply for, and it's sort of a catch-22. Many times they want to see that you have something working before they're willing to invest in you, and it takes too long. So there was a timing issue. We didn't have the time to wait, so we moved forward. What I did was, ultimately what I did was leverage family and myself with savings to move forward. But you should know this, that it's a very tight financing environment right now. And if you can believe it, we were looking for $10,000 to open our doors, to buy the supplies, the inventory, to do the renovations on a commercial property that we liked. And a bank would not give two partners that one was a doctor of chiropractic that had been an athletic trainer who had a master's in education and a few years work experience as a chiropractor already and many years as a personal trainer prior to that, and they wouldn't give an MBA with some work experience as well any financial support whatsoever. The only thing they would do is to give us a loan against our personal assets, or I'm going to give Pete Patitsis, $5,000, and he can do with what he wants with it. If he wants to use it for his business or to pay down his car loan or whatever, that's fine. But so the point is that although the concept was viable, the management, in my opinion, was pretty good. And if you fast forward to the future, we now have, like I said, a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, an MBA who's full-time, 3 licensed massage therapists, 5 Penn State interns, and 1 person we're actually funding to go to massage therapy school. Even with all of that stuff, they were unwilling, even as small as $10,000, to give us assistance. So, it's tough. And as one of my professors said, marry money. So, you got to find the money somewhere, and friends and family really are developing those genuine relationships now is so key, because it's not all about the money, but those people really, at the end of the day, are going to be the ones that will be your first investors, and they believe the most in you. So.
Now, how comprehensive was the business plan that you put together, or did you follow the conventional path that I'm sure you learned in the MBA program of putting together a structured business plan? Did you do a ton of market research? Did you spend months agonizing over the details? 10,000 does not, quite frankly, sound very impressive. It sounds like maybe, if you're lucky, a couple of months worth of cash that maybe gets you 2 months into it, and then, I mean, if you don't get one client, then you're out of luck and you got to go find a real job again. So, did you create a business plan? What did you do?
Yeah, great questions. I mean, first and foremost, I just want to emphasize that I was in that industry for the better part of 8 months to a year prior to starting our own thing. So, sort of had an intuition for the industry. But I did actually go through the business plan formalities, and it was a good exercise. I didn't agonize over too much. We sort of have a philosophy, ready, fire, aim, so to speak. I think that sometimes, the analysis, or whatever it's called, the paralysis of analysis, can really ruin you. But I'll tell you this: we only needed $10,000 because in a very short period of time, we went from seeing 3 patients in a week to over 30. And I'll say that the reason we were able to do that was because we did not, first of all, we worked very hard, but we tried not to get wrapped up in too many of the details. And while we were kind of making a decision, we were also learning from that and improving it for the next round of decision making. So it was very dynamic. It was a very dynamic environment, and luckily we were able to start fueling and funding our own expenses and investment potentials going forward into different domains with our own cash flows in a very short period of time. And once again, I like to say that a good product in the hands of bad management is only so good, but a neutral product in the hands of good management can be a very successful campaign. So I think we executed very well, and the ready, fire, aim mentality helped us out in ramping up quickly.
Okay, so it kind of suggests that or not kind of, it does suggest that a couple things. One is you did have 8 months of experience in the industry, so you as you said, you kind of developed this intuition or this insight, I would say, into the market, into what works, kind of pricing strategies, mix of products and services. Also what doesn't work. I remember you telling me a little bit about the gentleman that you worked with. You also had credibility that came with the expertise of your partner. She's a doctor, chiropractic doctor, and some of the brand names that you mentioned, that people are familiar with. So that was good. What was the toughest decision that you had to make? What did you agonize over? What did you lose sleep over, both prior to starting the business up and then maybe shortly after the business started?
Yeah, I mean, it was all about cash flows, really, and trying to structure a working relationship with employees that minimized the risk, but also rewarded us too for working together. So, in the beginning, we knew that a lot of our practice would be based on the employment of licensed massage therapists. And I don't know if you knew this, but in Pennsylvania, only as of a year ago did you need a license to practice massage therapy in Pennsylvania. So, a lot of people were kind of operating under this old model of, let's just put up a sign that says I'm a massage therapist and go forward with no training or et cetera, which, I don't think is a good idea, even if it might have been legal. But now, as of 2011, you could no longer do that. You had to get training, you had to be licensed. And so there was a huge shortage in supply of not just qualified and professional, but licensed staff, specifically massage therapists. And And in the beginning, we knew that we were kind of, so to speak, it was a buyer's market, so to speak. So we had to figure out a way to create a working relationship with them so that when they made money, we made money, and vice versa. And so what we did is we created almost like a contingency agreement, or really what it is a revenue sharing agreement where, they take a certain percentages of the patients that they see, and we take a certain percentage of that. And I can never claim to not have money to pay them because I only owe them money when they make money. And this incentivizes them to work hard, to market for us. And we tried to find a percentage that made everyone happy. And that's what really made the ship float, because it allowed us to minimize our risk and to get people on staff quickly. And that really is what kept us up at night the first week. Sure, we needed them most importantly to get moving.
Okay, so flash forward, the end of your 5th month. Are you drawing the big bucks? Are you pulling down $10,000 a month, or are you drawing any money at all? Or I assume your cash flow is positive, which is a good thing. But what do you see from a financial point of view? Is it what you expected? What would be your next steps also? But we'll get into that maybe after you tell us a little bit about where you're at with the financial side.
Well, I'll tell you, what has occurred in the last 2 weeks is that we finally have our brainstorming's over, the vision is clear, we know exactly what elements and domains we want to participate in, and so good news is that a lot of funds that we were using to make our security deposits, to put get our toolkits and our agreements purchased, etc. All that money now or all those expenses have been made, all those initial expenses. And so, the vision is there. We know we're a wellness center. We know what domains we have. And now it's just time to give it time to get there. I'll say that we were drawing a salary at the end of January. Now, it wasn't anything significant, but we have definitely been able to pay ourselves since as early as the first week of February with a reasonable check. Certainly, all of our massage therapists are doing just fine. If we didn't have any of these capital expenditures over the last few months, we'd be doing actually even better pay-wise. But it's what I'm very pleased about is that all of the structure, the fundamentals are there. The foundation is poured. Now it's just time to get that clientele built up and to cross-reference these people through a cycle of wellness care. And everything's in place to do it very well and to make a good financial return from it. So, yes, we are paying ourselves. It's not a great deal much, but we certainly are, drawing from, when you consider that the average patient that comes in, we bill about $100+ from, seeing 20, 30 patients a week, and then you have the spa side, and then you have the vitamin supplements, and then you have the weight loss program and the acupuncture. I mean, there's just a lot of ingredients here that are adding up to benefit, us, generously. And I think, it's only a matter of time till me as an MBA that could have maybe done something more corporate will feel just as financially, successful.
Okay. Now, there's 2 other questions related to where you're at in this whole startup process that I would like you to comment on. First of all, it's essentially a retail business. How important is location for your business? I mean, we know McDonald's, it's very important. Certain kinds of, retail, it's extremely critical. But how important is your location? And it sounds like you've picked a good one. What were some of the key factors there? These things happen so quickly with you guys that, did you just grab the first available spot, or did you put some thought into it? And I've got a couple of follow-up questions, including a good one from Dion.
It's funny you say that. In terms of our professional relationship, Dr. Moyer and myself, she is a very calculated, not workful, but she'll bring something up that she doesn't hope to act on for 6 months. And I definitely shoot from the hip. So what's ironic is that when we went initially to look for commercial real estate to rent or maybe even to buy, but we decided to rent, the first apartment that we went into is the one that we eventually actually got. And again, in my mind, it was an issue of getting things moving quickly and getting the first patient in and moving as fast as we could. So, in regards to making those decisions and how fast they occurred, we've been really shooting at the hip, but learning from our shots and readjusting, very quickly and very aggressively. So I think that answered your question, Dr. Lightfoot. It was sort of the nature of how quickly we were moving our decisions forward.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, there's the whole idea of location. Were you looking for a high traffic pattern? Were you looking for easy access? Were you looking for just something that was available at a low price?
Yeah, it was about location. It really was. To say the least, I mean, granted, we did our best to kind of figure out what was worthwhile and what was not. But we actually are in downtown Victorian Belfont. I don't know if you guys have heard of the infamous and unfortunate, Jerry Sandusky cases, but that guy actually is being seen in court right up the street from us. So it's Victorian Belfont. It's the county seat of Center County. There's a very famous park nearby. There's the Chamber of Commerce right down the street. The YMCA. We're right next to a Subway, actually, so you can. I hope you guys all like the smell of triple wheat cheddar bread because that definitely comes through the walls quite a bit. But just so it was about location, and we've been taking particular attention to making sure our signage is up, things as basic as that, and at the same time, using all the virtual elements too. We have over 400 backlinks to our website at this point on the web, which is pretty astounding. And I'm a website developer as well, just by nature of necessity, really, but over the years have become quite confident in that. And we are sort of the monopoly for Google searches for spa, for chiropractic, for facials, for acupuncture in the Belfont area. And so we try to hit our customers, our clients, and patients from every angle. And location was certainly very important in that. But we also took the time to develop the other channels of entry too.
Okay, good. And I'll got another follow-up question for you, and then we've got another great question about the future. The follow-up question builds off of this marketing. It sounds like you've obviously invested time in the website and social media and developing that network electronically. How much did you have to put a lot of extra marketing dollars or a disproportionate amount out there initially? I mean, I'm an old-time, go back as a sales engineer, as a marketing guy. I've been involved in new product launches and some new business initiatives, and it seems to me that you've got to let people know you're there, and that requires some extra effort early on and sometimes extra funding early on. Has that been the case, or tell us a little bit about your initial launch and your initial introduction and how you got from 3 to 30 people in a fairly short period of time? What did you do?
Well, we physically speaking, like I said, we looked for a great location. We got our signs up quickly. Second is I created a website for our business. I don't know if you guys want to check it out. I don't know if you have opportunities through the web right now, but it's called silverliningwellness.com. And that website was basically, 80 to 90% of what you see today back in the end of December before we even had our doors open. I probably worked on that thing nonstop for a week. It was a very good website, I think. It's easy to navigate. It shows a lot of our strengths of how to find us. But in any case, I did as much as I could with the resources and tools that I had at my disposal. And what that included was a background in website design, sort of the insight to know that search engine optimization has a certain algorithm that it follows, and that includes backlinks and directory listings. I did some reading about Google, the Google rankings algorithm. And so once I was able to demystify those processes, I just myself and a number of interns that were working with us did everything we could to get us listed on as many directories as possible online. And then I realized that, you know, of the 20 plus websites that I've done, I've never really had a backlink to any of my, like I don't have a home website that says PetePatitsisWebDesigner.com. So I went through those and I actually linked them all back to my working website. So in any case, I just, like I said, I reconnected the dots. I worked hard demystifying the algorithms, and then after that, it was just an issue of putting in the time to get us listed, and that local monopoly, let's say, of spa, chiropractic, and acupuncture for the Belfont area. And that really made the difference. It really did.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I've got Dion Oliver has a great question, and this is really related to the future. And that was, you know, where do you go from here? I mean, the question that Dion asked specifically is, what is the plan to sustain and grow the business? Do you have any new products or service plans to grow into other areas of the city or your county or your state? Tell us a little bit about how you take this initial concept and continue to grow it. You're not, I know personally that you're not the kind of person that's just going to be happy at age 27, or heck, you could be 87 on, you know, just doing what you're doing and doing it for the rest of your life. So I know growth is something you're always thinking about. So tell us a little bit about that. How do you sustain and grow your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and you know, I will say, I like to say a motto is there's nothing too humble or too ambitious that I would do. And at the moment, you know, there were a lot of things in the first 4 months probably that took a lot of high strategy insight, some key decision making opportunities, things like that. Right now, you know, I'm sort of functioning as a glorified receptionist to some extent. You know, on a daily level, let's call it, as of, you know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So the good news is, and it's good news in the sense that things are stable. There's a routine. There's processes in place. A lot of the key decisions have been made. We know where we are now. We know what services we offer. The next step really is to replace my, you know, once cash becomes available, let's say, is to replace my function physically at this one location. And I think over the next few months, what we're already doing actually is developing relationships with chiropractors who want to open up a practice in central Pennsylvania. And I've also been working with my massage therapists, who ironically are all about 45 minutes drive from where we are, about, you know, trying to figure out what type of geographic radius they're willing to travel to. And as I bring them more business and we get along, they're more willing to spend, you know, more and more days with us. And so what I'd like to do is to replicate our center in different places, have a Silver Lining Wellness of Belfont, have a Silver Lining Wellness of Huntingdon, of Lewistown. These are all little towns around the area. And being that local monopoly in a small town is not such a bad thing. You know, you could go to the big city and there'd be a lot of people on your block, but, you know, to say that you do things well and progressively in a small area, you know, I don't think anyone's getting taken advantage of. We're providing great care, but to a certain extent, you know, there's only so many other options for acupuncture in the area or for a spa. There's a lot of chiropractors, but, you know, when you have the fixed cost of real estate, of your rent or utilities, you might as well fill it with lots and lots of different wellness activities that are complementary and related. And so I see myself in the future taking truly a more managerial role, a more regional role, and trying to replicate what we're doing there in other communities that need wellness care. I don't know if you guys have seen it, Forks and Knives. It's a fantastic documentary for, you know, promoting the idea of nutrition to heal cancer, to heal all sorts of different ailments, obesity, etc. And what's so insightful about it is that what people are realizing is that although surgery is extraordinary and the technology is very impressive. Ultimately, if you want to live well and healthy and a long life, it's, things as basic as nutrition really are the answers. And so I think there really is a very strong place now for wellness care throughout America, and especially in rural communities where people are not so used to, eating the right things, let's say. So, I think it's a very right time to replicate and to do things right. And with the healthcare crisis that we have and the overspending, there's nothing like preventative healthcare to help save us, financially. But on the back end, it's also very lucrative too, from the management point of view. An ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. So, in any case, I'm excited just to have a mission and a purpose to our work, and I'm excited and happy to know that we can scale up and that we're really perfecting our internal processes right now so that we can replicate those again and again in other communities. So replication really is the next step.
Okay, great. I have another question from Didi. Didi's from Rwanda, and she's working on a good project as well. And she says, would you consider it risky to get straight into business? In other words, start a business without any real solid work experience. She recognizes that it's beneficial to have the work experience, but she's got this strong urge to go ahead and get her idea out there. And then also, follow-on question to that is, how do you manage doing your different ventures at the same time successfully? Silver Lining, the Greek Orthodox, St. Paul's Fellowship of Labor. You mentioned something about being a web developer, et cetera. You're Pete, I would not call you a stable person. I would call you a dynamic person who's got all these things going on. So, and the killer thing to my students is there's two of these guys. That's the thing that's amazing to me. So tell us a little bit about whether you think it's okay to just jump right in, even without a lot of experience, and then secondly, how do you manage all the different stuff you're doing?
Yeah, both of those questions are intimately related, and part of the answer is that necessity really breeds creativity. It breeds a lot of strong work ethic, and so what I find is that at any given time, I'm usually involved in a number of different things that are kind of related, and I'm sort of running with those things until one seems to be more financially viable than the other, and then I kind of reorient. So what I mean to say is, I've been running this business now for the past 5 or 6 months on my own, but at the same time, a few weeks ago, I actually went and taught a CAPSIM business simulation at Harvard with a very successful company called CAPSIM. So I'm actually an employee seasonally when they need me. And what's great is that owning a small business, I can take off when I need to, And if there's downtime, I don't have anyone looking over my shoulder saying, Pete, what are you doing on Dreamweaver creating websites when you should be, I don't know, trying to look like you're doing something. So the point is that there's a lot of underutilized time in a day, and if you have the autonomy and the respect of your team to work on other things, when you have downtime, you can get a lot done. So that's exactly what I do. I am the glorified receptionist during the day, but in between patient visits or checking them in and out, I'm developing websites, I'm making phone calls, I'm recruiting interns, I'm figuring out my next travel plans to teach somewhere. So there's just a lot of time in a day if you seize it, and if you create an environment that allows you to have the autonomy to work on things when you need to, and you have the work ethic, you can get a lot done in a short period of time, relatively speaking, especially when you have great resources like a university around that has interns that you can manage and direct and measure and help, who are looking for the learning experience, and you yourself are also in need of taking care of some of the more menial tasks or even some of the more important things to bring them on as well. But in terms of jumping right into it, let necessity be your guide. And I don't think there's anything wrong in having a full-time job or a part-time job while you're also flirting with the idea of opening up your small business. There's a lot of time in a day and a lot of time in a week. And, at some point you will have to make the jump. And I think no matter where you are, it's going to be a little disconcerting, a little unnerving. But ultimately, it will work out if the fundamentals are there. and having something, that's a little bit more stable in the meantime, so that you can then make the big leap eventually, helps you get there with less scarring, let's call it. So.
Okay. Let's. I want to shift gears a little bit and cycle back to the. I've asked the students, and I'll ask them verbally also. If you have any other questions, please go ahead and post them in the chat box, and then I will get to them and read them as we have with Dion's and Didi's questions. But I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want you to talk about your other venture that you and your brother Demetri started. I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, the St. Paul's Fellowship of Labor. We do have Larissa Gladovsky, and we have also Rebecca and a couple of other students that I know, whether they're working on a not-for-profit venture in this class or I've talked to them about their own ideas related to not-for-profits. How does that work? Forgetting for a moment that it's just another thing that you also do in your 8,160 hours every year. How does that work? Do you make money off of it? Do you have to raise funds? Do you get grants? Do you, tell us a little bit about how that works from a business point of view, and help us learn a little bit more about the not-for-profit world.
Yeah, it's all about understanding your product in anything really, and I find, especially with grassroots nonprofit movements or organizations, like ones like St. Paul's Fellowship of Labor, it's so important to really have a genuine and sincere belief in your mission, to be able to clearly articulate it to those people that are not familiar with it, to educate them about why it's important to you. And I think that ultimately people like to support people that they get along with, that they have similar values with, that they have similar priorities with. And there's this buzzword relationship that sometimes that never seems to be overemphasized, but it's sometimes abused. As if you can just start a relationship, and I think that, you have to be genuine in everything that you do. And if you do start a nonprofit organization, I just can't underestimate the importance of having a clear sense of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and why you are the person for the job of filling that gap, etc. So when my brother and I started this nonprofit about 7 years ago, we were this nonprofit's greatest advocates. No one could tell us that what we did was unimportant. And not to say that we didn't have supporters, but it was that type of attitude that I think allowed us to grow and to succeed quickly, because we were met with a lot of with resilience, or resistance. There was a lot of people were kind of nervous, about this idea of young people recruiting other young people that may be Orthodox or not Orthodox or varying belief systems to travel to these communities that are very ancient and very old. And it was our job to show the benefits of why we were structuring the things that we do. And in short, just to bring everyone up to speed, we recruit volunteers to complete construction projects in essence for these different communities that need it most, monasteries and convents. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Lord of the Rings, but imagine 100 Gandalfs walking around all day. These are the types of very interesting communities that we kind of go to and help, and they are also living very genuine and beautiful lives, and we benefit a lot from just being there. But the point is that it all starts with the greatest advocates, aka the founders of the organization, being able to clearly articulate and believe in that mission genuinely. And financially speaking, my brother and I have always been I would say breaking even on the concept, in the sense that we might have hundreds of volunteers that are a part of what we do, and they pay their way to get to the site. They pay a small program fee, but basically what the employees, or I guess you can call it the management, get out of the organization at this point, we're always trying to go beyond that, but they get their travel expenses reimbursed. So my brother, when he leads a program in Israel or in Guatemala, the organization will reimburse him for his travel expenses, and they won't charge him, of course, the program fee. I can't say that we have a huge endowment right now, but nonprofit organizations, their sales cycle, if you will, is probably 5-10 years out. You hear about these groups that have $1 million endowments. It takes a long time to get there. And did you guys know that Harvard was started, I think, in the late 1500s, early 1600s? I mean, it has had a huge amount of time to develop the client base or the alumni base that it has had, and it makes all the difference. We've all gone through the exercise of the guy who was owed $1 by Julius Caesar 2,000 years ago, and if that dollar would have been getting interest, et cetera, it'd be more than the value of the world, or something like that. In any case, time can really build interest, and so what I mean to say is, while my brother is 7 years into it and haven't been able to full time go into the nonprofit world, we have been able to at least grow with the program, take care of the basic expenses, break even, touch a lot of people's lives, make a big difference, and I think in the long term start developing genuine relationships that ultimately I can see will someday lead to a greater endowment. Maybe not for Demetri and I, but maybe for our children's generation or their generation after them. And you never know where it will all go. So I hope I didn't jump around the question too much. But long story short is it's a tough walk with nonprofits, and the more specific and the more niche you go, the more difficult it is to raise money. But at the same time, I think in the long term it will work out ultimately.
Well, Rebecca has a good question. How are you able to sustain your volunteer base? And then she asks a follow-on to that. Do you give them some sort of an allowance? And I'm not quite sure I understand what the second part is referring to, but let us know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think what we do is, again, that the volunteers are recruited. They pay their way to, let's say, San Francisco or Guatemala, and then they're charged almost a very moderate to nominal fee for being there. That just takes care of their expenses. So we've had people that go to San Francisco and they'll stay a week in San Francisco for $300 for the week. Now, the reason we keep our costs low is we're usually living with the community, so they take care of our food, our accommodations, our transport. But no one is paid. And at the same time, though, my brother probably even more countries than myself, but I think I've been to 19 countries now and lived in 5 of them, and it's all a result of not caring to live sort of the 5-star resort, place. Everywhere I go, I'm always working. I'm always staying with family. I'm staying with friends. So I think that if you're willing to travel and work as you go and to make lasting memories, sort of a program that kind of, you get yourself there and you pay a minimal fee to be there, it really, you can get around the world a lot, and it's a big incentive to people. They love traveling with us, and you're with great people. So.
Well, and having been on one of your trips, the trip to the Bahamas, I can attest. I mean, you can't expect that you're going to be staying in resorts. You cannot expect that this is a tourist trip. It's not even what I would call really a classical traveler's trip. You're there to work, and you're there to, put in some time and effort. And it's not terribly expensive. In fact, the airfare is probably in a lot of cases can be more than the actual landed cost. But the way the base model is designed is you probably spend about 6 hours of the day, 5 days a week, working on whatever project you're there to work on. And yet, Peter and his brother Demetri do a really good job of building in some of the local flavor and color so that, you may go out to a restaurant, or you may, when we were in the Bahamas, we swam in the deepest blue hole in the ocean, and, we played coconut football and walked across a bay to watch a sunrise. And so you try to take advantage of the environment that you're in so that you get much more than just a, work week where you're giving service. And that's something I greatly appreciated about the experiences that I've had with Pete through this, as well as Demetri through his for-profit organization that he has as well. So
it's a well-rounded day. It's a well-rounded day for sure, and I think it just fills a little bit of enough of everything so that you're giving back in real ways. you have enough time for that camaraderie. You're doing things that are unique and special, and you're getting, like Dr. Lightfoot said, the local flavor, and at the same time just having an opportunity to kind of, reflect and relax at times, but also, feel the benefits of some of that physical work, which to be honest, is more akin to our primitive nature and less akin to most of the sedentary sort of ways that we live today. So it's I think especially for the white collar worker like most of us, it's great to kind of get out of the office chair and work in your body a little bit, especially in sunny places. So.
Yeah, sunny places. Another, I guess, as we're starting to wrap up, and I've just asked the students if they've got any other questions to please go ahead and post them now, because we are going to let Pete get back to his family. I wanted to build off of a comment you made earlier. Somebody had suggested that you need to marry wealthy. Now, I've met Magda, and Magda is a wonderful person. She's also, as I said earlier on when I was introducing you, she's in law school right now. She's not only raising or helping to raise your first two children, but now you have a third child on the way. You're starting to accumulate debt. You've got a family to worry about. What are the challenges of being an entrepreneur, being somebody who loves to start things and loves to make things happen, and yet having sort of more of a normal life? I mean, is it realistic for somebody who's married with kids to be able to do all this? Don't you need a big salary? Don't you need a steady income? I mean, how can you do it?
Yeah, I mean, to everything, to every profit and loss statement, I maybe rephrase this. Net income is a function of revenues and costs, right? So, we try to live modestly. We try to live creatively. I mean, we rent our house out on Penn State weekends, to football crowds. I mean, we're doing everything we can to make the dollar go as far as we can make it, and to make the fixed costs of our lives, reach. I just bring this up briefly. Luckily, I have a spouse that's almost as crazy as I am, and so we can clean our house and put our kids in the car and go somewhere for the weekend with friends and family and have a great time, and at the same time, rent our house out for the weekend. At the same time, I'll say, we have a great sort of tag team sort of way of doing things, and she's a great mother and an incredible law student. She's actually number one in her class right now. I also
Awesome.
think that God kind of takes care of people that are crazy enough to do the right thing sometimes. And so with that said, I mean, it definitely is challenging, but if you can kind of turn off Oprah and put away the TV a little bit, and just utilize your time and spend as much time as you can with your kids in a genuine way, I think you can find the time in a day. But it is a struggle. I mean, it definitely is something that you have to be willing to struggle through every day, and there are days that are smooth and days that are not. But being a part of that, having that local network and that safety net. I mean, I can't say that we have my mother coming, or my mother-in-law is in Poland. My mother is in the area, but she does not come very often. So we kind of make it work one way or another. But financially speaking, you just kind of take it one day at a time and do what you got to do to be creative and pay the bills and hope that there's a good reward at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, and Joseph asks a good question. Do you have a specific target market that you are targeting, and if so, what methods did you use to research it? And this is specifically related to silver lining.
Sure. Our target demographic really are middle-aged women, probably from the ages of 30 to 48. They most likely
so anybody,
are.
Let me clarify. Anybody over 48 is not middle-aged?
Well, them too as well, But it definitely is important that you reach them in the channels that are most appropriate to them. And so, we've tried. If they're mothers, we go to where mothers go to promote. If they listen to a certain radio station, we're looking to see, if that's a viable avenue to reach them. I'll tell you right now, it's somewhat shotgun-like in the sense that we know research-wise who our demographic is. We know from experience that it's a pretty accurate description. At the same time, though, that word of mouth cannot be underestimated. But awareness is important, and we're just trying to find opportunities so that we can get in front of people, build relationships, prove ourselves, and let that word of mouth carry the rest of the momentum. So, I can't say that we're part of middle-aged women's journal magazine or something, but to say the least, we do everything we can once they're in the door to give them a very successful and worthwhile experience, and at the same time, incentivize them to come back. So, in a way that's ethical. Granted, in healthcare, it's a little bit difficult to create your reward point systems, etc. You can create incentives or enticements, but they're, just from a good experience, we hope that they refer their friends and family. So.
Great. And then one more question from Joseph, and then we're going to let you get Pete. And it's basically, is it more local advertising? So are you actually? I guess a good question is, are you actually advertising beyond the social media and the web-based network that you talked about before? Do you do any kind of local advertising, billboards, posters, flyers, magazine inserts or daily newspaper inserts or whatever?
Our most successful marketing campaigns have been ones where a journalist has come to us to interview us about what we're doing. So, the billboard kind of flyers or the business card advertisement newspaper has had moderate success. The best ones are when, it's a local newspaper, perhaps one of the county at the largest. More local you get like Belfont or the surrounding community, even better. But it's amazing the people that read the Gazette in the area or the Sunday Times, etc. And people like to read a story. I think we're inundated with advertisements, but people still go to read about good stories, and we always try to tell a good one and make it sincere and genuine. And I think people catch on to that. So yes, being local is important, but networking, supporting the local YMCA, supporting the local Lions Club, and giving away a free this or that every once in a while. You don't know how many free massages I've actually given out to clients and to respected peers and professionals to get them in the door. And I have a good intuition about it. I like to say it usually pays off. And we didn't even talk about this, but, in this economy, you have to be willing to value trade. And develop your skills now, because it's great to be able to go out into the real world and talk to a massage therapist and say, hey, I noticed you have a website. What if I, make you a website and optimize your search engine results? It won't cost you any money, but, give me, X amount of massages, vouchers that I can use to wine and dine my guests and professional network. And that has also served to be a huge tool in getting the word out there. When you move the money away and you just kind of trade service, the old bartering mentality, I don't know if it's this economy or whatever, but I'll tell you, it's a very effective way of moving things forward. Take the money off the table and exchange value instead.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, Pete, I really appreciate your joining us and taking an hour out of your busy schedule to share some of the insights and what it takes to start up a business. And I know that we've learned a great deal from your comments. And really tell Magda I said hello, and wish her all the best, of course, with the children. So through school and everything else, and I know we'll be keeping in touch.
Thank you, and thanks for having me, and appreciate all the questions. And if there's anything else, please don't hesitate to perhaps circulate an email. I'm happy to take any follow-on questions. Just happy to have been invited and been a part of the Bernal group. And good luck with all your ventures to the class. And thanks again, Dr. Lightfoot, so much for inviting me.
No, very good, and we appreciate it, and we will, if any of you guys want to get in touch with Pete to take him up on his kind offer, then let me know, and I will make that happen for you. And he's got a lot of good insights and a lot of experience over the last years of both on a nonprofit side and more recently on the for-profit side. So I think he could just be another node on your network, if you will, that helps to kind of enhance your learning and also help to make it happen. So again, thanks. And Pete, okay, he's already jumped right in and given the email, and I will go ahead and get that posted here as well. And other than that, we're done for the evening. Folks, next week, what I'm thinking I'm going to do, and you can give me a check mark if you're good with this, is I think I'm going to invite either Chris Nordholtz or Matt Dubnik. They're president and vice president of an organization here called Full Media, and they not only do website design, but more relevantly, they do a lot of search engine optimization, search engine marketing, and can really comment a lot about social networking and social media, and what's really very quickly become probably the number one way in which many companies, especially startups, get the word out. You heard it from Pete about how they had this web-based strategy and how that's evolved over time and impacted their business. And so just in thinking through a natural way to kind of finish off this course, I think that would be good to hear from some of the experts in the field. So I'm going to see if I can arrange that. And other than that, I will turn off the archive now and hang back a little bit. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, you're certainly welcome to go. And thank you guys for participating.